What's up, y'all? Erebus here. Welcome back to some more DS3 PvP. Today, I'm going to get in trouble. Probably. I'm probably going to piss some people off because I want to talk about invasions versus arena. And I'm going to be frank with you, I've recorded this commentary several times already and been dissatisfied with it. And I keep coming back and redoing it because I'm a bit salty. But I don't want things to come across the wrong way. I want to be very clear with my thoughts and what I have to say. So the base point is, I've been seeing a lot in YouTube comments, not on my channel because you guys are all pretty chill and relaxed, but on other channels I see a lot of comments, and I see stuff on Twitter and Reddit and, you know, just throughout the community where people are really elitist for one or the other. You know, there are dueling elitists that think that invasions are for casuals. You know, who pretend that people in the arena don't fall for Barker bomb bait, like this person just did, even though I didn't parry. I easily could have. You know, so there's those people. And then there's the invasion purists who think that, you know, arena is just full of tryhards who aren't any fun to fight and don't know what fun is, because they just use top-tier equipment that's boring and, you know, whatever else. Just bullshit, essentially. And I've been seeing both of those opinions, and both of them make me pretty angry, I've got to be honest. I get pretty salty. Because, in my view, both of those opinions are just flat-out stupid. Like, it's not even misguided or, oh, well, you know, to each their own, agree to disagree. It's just being stupid. And it's dismissing the mechanics of the game. Because the thing is, can invasions be harder than duels? Absolutely. Can duels be harder than invasions? Absolutely. Is one of them just in general harder or requiring more play skill? Well, no. I mean, you can't really say that because every single invasion and every single duel is so different. There's so much variety to be found in Dark Souls 3 that you never really know what you're going to encounter. Arena, I will say, has a bit more of a, not a standard, but, you know, like a standard. You're more likely to run into specific things, like the Pontiff Knight Curve Sword or a straight sword with a Llewellyn shield. You know, stuff like that. More meta builds you'll run into more often in the arena. But you'll also run into weird shit like this guy. This guy is rocking a terrible setup. But it's a good player rocking a terrible setup. So, you know, that comes into play. So, my point is, both arena and invasions are really varied. You can get into the arena with, you know, a really good player like this who's using a really bad setup, and that's kind of interesting. You can run into a meta tryhard who has the best setup possible and is also a top tier player. You can run into a PvE player that just decided to try out PvP and figured this would be the best way to do it. You know, it's all over the place. And similarly in invasions, you can invade a solo host who's never PvP'd before and, you know, is just afraid of afraid of the invasion. You can run into a gang squad of 4 people by yourself, and maybe some of the phantoms have gold medals in arena, because I come across that a lot. You know, that can happen. It's just too varied. They're different situations, arena and invasions. Arena, you don't get Estus, so you can't make mistakes. Invasions, you can make mistakes because you have Estus, but your opponents can do the same. So invasions are often more of a marathon, whereas I would say a duel is more of a sprint. You know, because duels are whatever 2-3 minutes long, and there's no healing, and it's just first kill wins. In invasions, it's, you know, there's healing for as much healing items as you have, or spells or whatever, versus multiple opponents, and hosts can resummon opponents too. So, you know, it's more of a marathon. And the type of player that you encounter certainly factors into that. You know, a good player in the arena is going to be harder to fight than a bad PvE player, you know, with one phantom who is just their buddy who's also not a PvP person. You know, the arena battle is going to be harder. But an arena battle versus an average player versus, invading in Gank City and getting a host with 2 Phantoms and they all have either silver or gold medals in duels and brawls, that's going to be much harder than dueling the average person. So it all depends on what you encounter. And because Dark Souls is so varied, you're going to encounter a lot of different things. So what it comes down to is what you find most fun. And for me, more often I prefer invasions because I like having the level layout as part of it. I like having enemies as part of it, both on my side and against me, because Seed of a Giant Tree exists. I've got a clip in this video where it exists, and a Grave Warden comes after me in the cathedral. That's just an added level hazard. I think that's interesting. So level design comes into play in invasions. Enemies, whether for or against you, come into play. Multiple opponents are in play. All that kind of stuff. I typically find that more interesting. So I often enjoy invasions more. But when you want to simplify the equation a little bit, duels are a lot more fun. When you just want, I just want to fight one person and test my skill against someone else's skill, then arena's a blast when that's what you want to do. And, I enjoy that a lot too. I think I enjoy invasions more often, but I enjoy them both equally at different times, if that makes sense. Because they both have their fun, and they both have, challenges to them, and they're both interesting to me. I don't know. I like them both. And it's okay not to like them both. It's totally fine. If you just like invading because you don't like running into tryhards in the arena, or you don't like not being able to make a mistake, that's fine. Or if you only like arena because, you don't like having to chase hosts, or, you don't like the fact that healing is a factor, or that, you have to find people in the levels or whatever, that's fine too. Do what you enjoy. They're different, so it's very possible that you'll only like one or the other, or that, you'll prefer one over the other. That's actually probable, because they're different things. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is people saying that one requires more skill than the other, or that one is for casuals, or anything like that. And I don't care who's saying it. I want to make that clear. I don't care if it's a duelist purist or an invader purist. If you're saying that what you do is the real challenge of Dark Souls, and only casuals or, worthless people do the other thing, I'm talking to you. I'm talking about you. You are the problem. If you say shit like that. You're the reason that I made this video, because you're irritating to me. Because I'm a fan of do what you enjoy, and enjoy what you enjoy. But don't shit on other people's enjoyment, especially when you're objectively wrong in terms of, skill level requirements or difficulty level. Because the idea that one is harder than the other is just objectively untrue. It doesn't have to do with an opinion. Because I don't have a preference. I'm not batting for a team here, if you will. I'm not trying to say invasions are better than duels. I'm not trying to say duels are better than invasions. I like them both. I think they're both a lot of fun, and I think they're different experiences. But being a fan of both, and having done a fair amount of both, I can say with full confidence that there is not a significant difficulty gap between the two setups. Now, we'll say that one is harder than the other in certain situations. For instance, this invasion that I'm showing here is going to be me versus 3 people with no enemies to help me, although I do use the level to my advantage. And one of these phantoms is going to get resummoned. This is a much harder and more challenging situation to deal with than fighting an average duelist in the arena. Like a bronze or silver medal type average person who's not, a tryhard. However, I would say this situation is quite a bit easier to deal with than fighting a top-tier duelist. Because I have fought some. They're not hard to find, by the way. If you want to find the top-tier duelists, there's, however many of them, I don't actually know. But at least 15 or 20 that come to mind that are outstanding players, just top of the line. They're not hard to find, and they're not hard to fight, because they're pretty frequently on the game. So you can find them, and you can fight them. And you can experience it for yourself if you haven't. The difficulty of fighting one of those top tier players. And it's much harder than this. So you can start to see why the question, or the assertion that dueling is harder than invading, or invading is harder than dueling. You can start to see why that's just dumb. And doesn't make sense, because it's on a sliding scale. It all depends on what players you encounter and how many of them there are. Is it harder to fight, let's say, 3 bad players or 1 average player? 3 bad players is harder. What about 3 average players or 1 top tier tryhard? The top tier tryhard is harder. So, it depends on a lot of factors. Invasions have a lot of variables that factor in to its difficulty level. So I would say dueling is more... It's got a smaller variation in difficulty, whereas invasions can be easier or harder or similar depending. But ultimately, there's just different situations that have different, strength requirements and different skill sets needed. So that's all I have to say. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're one of those purists and you're just super salty and pissy now, go ahead and give me hate in the comments. I'm ready for it. I've prepared myself mentally and physically for all of the barrage of hatred. So bring it on. I'm not scared. Other than that, have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll see you next time.